It's time to get your news on. We are VK1WIA.
That man is absolutely correct. It is the WIA National News. It's for week commencing June 23, 2024, and I'm Graham, VK4BB editor. This week, WIA Director Lee Moyle, VK3GK. Can you help with tabulating some logs? VK4TS Trent Sampson is asking for help. And there's also much more in this edition of news from your Wireless Institute of Australia.
Who listens to radio?
I'm Henry, VK2ZHE.
Hi there, this is Scott Williams, VK3KJ.
Hi, I'm Mark, VK4DMH from the Gold Coast Amateur Radio Society.
Leslie, VK5LOL from Aberfoyle Park, South Australia.
This is WIA Director Lee Moyle, VK3GK. Last month, I, along with a number of WIA members, attended Dayton Hamvention held last May in Xenia, Ohio, USA. Chris Dimitrovic, VK3FY, Peter Young, VK3MV, Chris Platt, VK5CP, and Phil Waite, VK2ASD, are all either current or past WIA board members who all had a great time catching up with many of the international peak body representatives for discussions on topics such as youth, membership retention, and new international projects. Chris and I also met with ARRL President Rick Roderick, K5UR, and IARU Region 3 Secretary Yosuke Uchiyama, JH1NBN. Numbers were up again this year, which set another attendance record of 35,877 attendees over the weekend's event. Dayton Hamvention 2025 is scheduled for May 16th and 18th of 2025. Put the date in your diary. The event needs to be experienced. For those on social media, there are a couple of Facebook groups with dedicated discussions and with hints and tips for Hamvention trip planning. Search for VK's Going to Dayton and VK's Going to Tokyo Ham Fair. International Hamventions are a great meeting place for many hams. Next up is Friedrichshafen in Germany on June the 28th to 30th. Then it's Tokyo Ham Fair at the new venue, the Ariake GMX, on August 24th and 25th. Several VK hams have already booked for Tokyo, attending Ham Fair, and have applied for a Japanese call sign using reciprocal agreements in place between Australia and Japan. The IARU World Championship contest is on again on the weekend of July 13th, 14th. Contest period begins at 1200 UTC Saturday and runs through to 11:59 UTC Sunday. Both single and multi-operator stations may operate the entire 24-hour period. The WIA will have a headquarters station operating in the contest. Call signs to be used will be VK3WIA, but others may be added depending on operators' availability. The VHF-UHF contest results are being processed, and Trent Sampson, VK4TS, has asked for any persons wishing to volunteer a few hours to help process the current logs to contact him. Work is being done in the background to streamline log checking. Alan Shannon, VK4SN, is developing plugins for N1MM logging software for the VHF-UHF contest. Not surprisingly, WIA membership is back on the increase, with many previous WIA members renewing their memberships along with new first-timers joining. Timing is coincidental to the ACMA introducing the class licence. The WIA board are planning to update the vendor discount program with some new additions. This is another tangible benefit of WIA membership along with AR Magazine. WIA and ACMA continue to meet regularly, and ACMA continue to improve the exam process, and ACMA assessors will be pleased that the new exam papers have been made editable, and now candidates can fill out the exam answer sheets directly on the PC screen for their results to be uploaded to the ACMA portal for processing. Once a call sign has been applied for and processed, their issues seem to be very timely and often within a few days. That's all for now, and I hope to work you in the IARU contest. 7-3 from Lee, VK3GK.
This news originates from the Wireless Institute of Australia. Born to lead since 1910.
VHF UHF Field Day log volunteers are needed. For a couple of years, the WIA has not been able to process the VHF UHF Field Day results owing to the log checker not being available. It has gone beyond time to hold out for a solution, and we need people to give us a hand. It's not a Herculean task, but it is close. Because of the complexity of log cross-checking, it is proposed that we do not do that and rather accept in good faith all logs that are presented and then tabulate. The proposal is simply to share the logs amongst a group and enter the details to a shared spreadsheet. The completed spreadsheet would be forwarded to Roger VK's 2ZRH for the report, and we expect each contest with 5 volunteers to take no longer than 4 hours per contest, with 6 in the backlog. Any logs not containing correct information, of course, would be excluded. Can you please email vk4ts@outlook.com if you are willing and able to help? This has been Trent, VK4TS. Back to the news desk.
Australiana. The Federal Court has published a judgment ruling that Phase Broadcasting Proprietary Limited had contravened the Radio Communications Act 1992. The ruling followed an investigation by the Australian Communications and Media Authority, the ACMA, that Phase was breaching its low-power open narrowcasting or LPON licence by operating transmitters from unlicensed address in Ballarat, Victoria. Phase has a number of LPON licences in the Ballarat area, but was not operating at the location specified on its licences. In his judgment, Justice O'Callaghan found that a failure to comply with the licensing regime is harmful to the community of licensees who rely on the proper regulation of the spectrum for commercial purposes, as well as for defence, national security and other non-commercial purposes, and to the Australian community who rely on and enjoy the benefits of a well-managed spectrum. Phase was required to forfeit 3 radio communication transmitters and was issued an injunction preventing it from carrying out further contraventions. It was also issued a fine of $8,000.
Hello. International news with thanks to ARRL, DX World, EHAM, Hackaday, IARU, ICQ Podcast, IRTS, Newsline, NZART, RAC, RadioWorld.com, RSGB, SARL, and the worldwide sources of the WIA. Leading this week's international news from Germany, June 24th will see the much-anticipated changes for some hams. Revisions to the Amateur Radio Ordinance take effect, granting simplified remote operating privileges to holders of a Class A licence. The ability to operate remotely has been a sought-after opportunity for many hams who want to stay active on the air but are not permitted to install antennas at their residence or suffer from a significant amount of electromagnetic interference there. A project being undertaken by the DARC, Germany's national amateur radio organisation, is bringing remote operation home, so to speak, by building a network of remote stations around the country that will be accessible to Class A hams in these situations. The development of the stations was funded from DARC and membership funds. International Amateur Radio Exhibition will be held on 28th to the 30th of June in Friedrichshafen, Germany on Lake Constance. This year's theme is 60 Years of Islands on the Air. Technology meets adventure. The 47th edition of this amateur radio exhibition will bring together radio amateurs from all over the world. Ham Radio is Europe's largest trade fair for radio enthusiasts, with over 300 commercial exhibitors and associations showcasing their extensive range of products and training courses on various radio technology topics that take place. New this year is the Innovation Hub of the International Amateur Radio Union and the extension to 2 career days. Returning this year is Ham Camp, where young radio enthusiasts and youth organisations spend the night in the exhibition hall, connecting with like-minded individuals at the same age who share their passion for radio. The May edition of the IARU Region 1 Monitoring System newsletter has been published. In this most recent newsletter, they report that many intruder and inferring transmissions on the HF amateur radio bands have continued, despite the significant solar disruption during this time period. Strange and unusual transmissions have been observed on the 20-metre amateur radio band, the transmission of several types of wideband orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, or OFDM, typically used for digital communication, were noted, supposedly of Russian origin according to the report. You can read more about the observed signals and watch short video examples of them yourself by downloading the newsletter from the monitoring system page at iaru-r1.org. Governor Albert Bryan Jr. has officially declared the week of June 23rd to the 29th as Amateur Radio Week in the US Virgin Islands. In a celebration of community service and innovation, Governor Bryan acknowledged the invaluable contributions of the 150 ham radio operators in the Virgin Islands. These dedicated individuals have partnered with federal and local emergency service organisations to ensure effective communication during severe weather, natural disasters and power outages. For VK1 WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1 WIA. Now, operational news with VK4 FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Now contest-wise 2024. This weekend, WIA Winter VHF UHF Field Day. 0100 hours UTC Saturday 22 June through 0059 hours UTC Sunday 23 June. In VK6 it's 0300 hours, 0359 hours in VK6. IAAHF World Championship July 13-14. As you would have heard, Lee VK3GK brought us news of this again at the top of this week's WIA National News, but it starts 0 hours UTC Saturday and ends 23:59 hours UTC Sunday. There is no operating time restriction for stations in any category. The aim of the contest is to support amateur radio self-training in radio communications, including improving amateur operating skills, conducting technical investigations, and intercommunicating with other amateurs around the world, especially IAA member society headquarters stations. ZL Autumn and Winter Sprints. Start marking those calendars as the greatest ZL Sprint Series held at 0800 hours Zulu on a Tuesday night is back for the month of July. Just to change things up in a blatant attempt to try and attract the cool kids, 30 minutes of FT4 has been added to the series. As before, this contest from New Zealand starts with 30 minutes of CW, followed by 30 minutes of SSB, then 30 minutes of FT4, all on 80 metres. The CW-SSB exchange is RST and your outside temperature. The FT4 exchange is your 4-digit Maidenhead grid locator. The object is to work as many stations as you can in one or more of the 3 sessions. It is a relaxed introduction to contesting and a chance to try out a new mode or equipment. Trans-Tasman Low Band Contest, July 21st. The Trans-Tasman Contest, always held in the 3rd weekend in July, aims to encourage low band activity between VK and ZL. Only contest bands 160, 80 and 40 metres are allowed with SSB, CW and digital, that is RIDI or PSK. Yoda Contest 2024. The next session of this year's Youth on the Air Contest will be from 1000 to 21:59 hours UTC 21 July on the 5 classic bands using CW and SSB. Everyone can work everyone. It's not just youth against youth. RSGB IATA Contest July 27. August 17, 18. Remembrance Day contest. This contest commemorates and remembers, hence its name, the Australian amateurs who died during World War II, and is designed to encourage friendly participation and help improve the operating skills of participants. It is held on the weekend closest to the 15th of August, the date on which hostilities cease in the Southwest Pacific area. A perpetual trophy is awarded annually to the Australian state or territory with the best performance. The name of the winning state or territory is inscribed on the trophy, and then holds the trophy for 12 months. The winning state or territory is also given a certificate, as they are leading entrants. Amateurs will endeavour to contact amateurs in VK call areas, ZL and P29, on all bands except WARC bands. Modes allowed are phone, CW and RTTY as per the era remembered. Again, the 2024 contest is the 17th and 18th August. DX window to the world. Federal Republic of Germany. Special event stations DL 2024E, DL 2024U, DL 2024R, and DL 2024O are QRV until July 14 during Euro 2024, the 17th edition of the UEFA European Football Championship, QSL by the Bureau. New Zealand. NZAT has a special event call sign for the upcoming America's Cup to be held in Spain later this year. ZL6 AM Cup has been allocated to celebrate this event, with full Garside, ZL2RO as trustee of the call sign. November 30th is when ZL6 AM Cup goes off air. In the World DX, we're listening for members of the Zurich City Police Radio Amateur Club throughout the year. Operating as HB20SP, the club is marking its 20th anniversary. Unfortunately, no Bureau QSLs, but you can use Logbook of the World. And HB20SP runs until December 31. Listen throughout the year for the special call sign 9A100RKZ, marking the 100th anniversary of Radio Club Zagreb, which was founded the 24th of March 1924 in Croatia. QSL via 9A1 ADE. Germany. The Berlin airlift was an operation that carried supplies by plane to the Allied sectors of West Berlin over a Russian blockade. For more than a year, hundreds of American, British and French cargo planes ferried provisions to West Berlin's Tempelhof, Gatow and Tegel airfields. Commemorating the 75th anniversary of the end of the Berlin airlift, 3 special event stations are active between now and 24 June. DL0GWW for Gatow, DL0TXL for Tegel, DL0THF for Tempelhof. QSL via LOTW, QRZ logbook and the DARC community logbook. Paper cards will not be provided, but an award will be available. Special call sign HF25 NATO is active until the 31st of August, marking the 25th anniversary of Poland joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Certificates and limited edition QSL cards are available. Visit qrz.com for details. For VK1WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ Inningham.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, first up in the segment this week, Worldwide Special Interest Group News, Summits on the Air, Worldwide Flora and Fauna Program, Parks on the Air and other adventure groups. Special call sign OE20 SOTA is active until the 31st of October to mark the 20th anniversary of Austria joining the Summits on the Air program. Operators have been heard recently on the 40, 20, 15 and 10 metre bands using SSB. For details of a certificate that's available for making 20 or more contacts with the station, see qrz.com. The Russian Flora and Fauna Organization has severed ties with the Worldwide Flora and Fauna. RN3ANT wrote that the decision was made with regret because of recent actions by the WWFF committee, including the elimination in April of Crimean RRF park references. He said that award applications that have already been approved will be completed, but new RFF-H applications through WWFF will not be. He also said that Russia's own Flora and Fauna program will continue to operate and issue awards. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier. Russian cosmonaut and ISS commander Oleg Konenko has become the first person to reach 1,000 cumulative days in space as of June the 4th. The milestone comes amid his fifth flight to space during his third stint as the commander of the ISS. His most recent trip to the orbiting laboratory began with a launch aboard the Soyuz MS-24 spacecraft on September 15, 2023, alongside cosmonaut Nikolai Chubb and NASA astronaut Laurel O'Hara, KI-5TOM. He's scheduled to return with Chubb and NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson in September this year. Worldwide Special Interest Group's IOTA. RSGB IOTA contest is July 27. Lord Howe Island VK9LA. Yuri YL2GM is QRV as, wait for it, VK9LA until June 24. Active on 160 through to 10 metres using CW, SSB and FT8. QSL to VK9LA via Yuri's home call, which again is YL2GM. British Virgin Islands VP2V IOTA NA023. Dave W9DR is QRV as VP2V/W9DR from Anegada, IOTA NA023 until June 25, but is on 6 metres only from Grid Square FK78TR using CW, SSP and FT8, QSL direct to home call. East Malaysia, Sarawak, IOTA OC088. 9M1Z is radiating from Sarawak until month's end, and remember, this is a shorter month. Activity is on 80 through to 6 metres using CW, SSB and FT8, QSL 9M1Z via LOTW. IOTA AM002 Bouvet Island 3Y0K. The sailboat contract has been cancelled and there'll be no January 2025 operation. The organisers are negotiating a contract for a large expedition vessel and helicopter operation to take place in January 2026. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Rescue Radio. A deadly tropical cyclone has left parts of coastal India and Bangladesh devastated. In the middle of it all, hams were there, relaying messages non-stop, as we hear our own John Williams, VK4JJW, as he reported for Newsline.
As Tropical Cyclone Remal battered India and Bangladesh, a team of 27 amateur radio operators from West Bengal worked around the clock to keep the lines of communications open in a region overtaken by lost power and flooding. By Sunday night, the West Bengal Radio Club responded to requests by local authorities to set up at various strategic locations in and around the Sagar Islands in Sundarbans. Operators used 2 mobile vans and 8 control rooms, communicating on VHF and UHF frequencies. According to updates the amateurs posted on their Facebook page, the van patrolled the coastal areas, reporting back with updates to the control centres. The deadly storm was estimated to have affected millions in the coastal region of the two nations, and the death toll estimates varied, but continue to climb. Authorities rushed to have people evacuated as their homes collapsed around them. At its peak, the storm achieved maximum speeds of between 110 and 120 kilometres an hour, with gusts of as much as 135 kilometres an hour. This is John Williams, VK4JJW.
Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Lowdown. As WIA National News reported last week, the Alexander Association in Sweden is celebrating Alexanderson Day on June 30 with CW transmissions on 17.2 kHz, utilising the SAQ radio transmitter first used in 1924. At that time, the transmitter was used to transmit across the Atlantic Ocean to Long Island, New York, USA. Messages is scheduled to be transmitted at 0900 UTC and 1200 UTC on June the 30th. If you can't hear the transmissions over the air, the event can be viewed live on YouTube. Test transmissions may take place on June the 28th. QSL reports will be accepted, and an amateur radio station, SK6SAQ, will also be on the air to mark the event. More information can be found on the Alexanderson Day webpage. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, QRP. As you'd have been aware, International QRP Day, an IARU Region 3 initiative, was held on June 11, and although no VK activity, one country, South Africa, came up with a catchy name and contest, the Wacky 1 Watt Challenge. South African operators tested their QRP skills during this weekend, tested knowledge of effective antennas and operating procedures by limiting power levels to just 1 watt, 1 wacky watt, and used distance to calculate scores instead of the number of contacts made. For VK1 WIA National News, I'm Cole, VK3GTV.
This is VK1WIA, the Wireless Institute of Australia's national news service, heard across Australia every week via relay stations such as the Mount William repeater in Western Australia on 146.9 MHz. The news can be heard in Mandurah at 9 a.m. every Sunday morning and can also be downloaded from the website www.wia.org.au at any time. The WIA website also lists the other rebroadcasts of the national news. I'm Mark, VK6QI.
2024, it's a date, and clubs are welcome to email text with audio for this section. Details of all WIA affiliated clubs and societies can be found on the WIA website, including email addresses and website links. That website, should know it by now, wia.org.au.
If you would like to gain your Amateur Radio Foundation licence, or you know someone who does, FamPark is here to help. The Frankston and Mornington Peninsula Amateur Radio Club is set to hold another Foundation licence course. The course will be held on Saturday the 29th of June and the exam on Sunday the 30th. Its anticipated Saturday session will run from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. However, times may vary depending on the size of the class. For more details, visit the FamPark website at www.vk3frc.org.au and click on the Foundation Licence link.
And those dates again, Saturday, Sunday, June 29 and 30. VK4 Caboolture Radio Club's Hamfest, Saturday the 13th of July. In VK3, the Bendigo Amateur Radio and Electronics Club Radio Fest, August 18. VK6 Perth Tech 2024, September 21 at Gidgegannup. VK4 Gold Coast Hamfest, October 13, Nerang Country Paradise Parklands. VK5 the Amateur Radio Experiments Group Radio and Electronics Sale, Saturday, October 26, 10 a.m. David Roche Park, Kilbourne. In VK7, the big one, the Tasmanian Ham Conference, November 2 and 3 in Hobart, being held at Sandy Bay campus of UTAS. And finally for the year, Spark Rosebud Radio Fest. This, of course, is VK3. It happens November 17, Eastbourne Primary School, Allambie Avenue, Rosebud. Now, WIA News rebroadcasters often give shortwave listeners a welcome to the broadcast as they commence callbacks straight after the local news. And local news follows national news in most states. It would be great if those shortwave listeners would email their reception reports and location to this email address, because we'd love to know who you are and where you are. The address, callbacks@wia.org.au. Callbacks@wia.org.au. Now till next we meet, I'm Editor Graham, VK4 Baker Baker. Walk softly.
This is VK1 WIA. All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
This has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.
Earth dodges some small solar storm bullets on the front side, while on the far side of the sun, region 3697 is at it again. Those stories and more are in this week's Spotlight. The sun has us in hurry up and wait mode this week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, you can see there really isn't a lot of activity in Earth view. We have the big players, region 3712 and then region 3716. Those are the ones that are giving us the most trouble, along with region 3713. In fact, on the 17th, you can see region 3712 fires off an M-class flare right there. And if you weren't paying attention, you might have thought that this big halo, this asymmetric halo, actually came from this region because it happened around the same time, along with this other halo that you can see here. This is actually the one that occurred almost simultaneously with this big M flare. And you're thinking, wow, that tiny little thing shot some Earth-directed solar storms? Nope, the sun's fooling us again. These are far-sighted halos, which means the solar storms are being shot away from Earth. And you can guess who that player is that's causing these things to go off. Yep, it's region 3697. This is that old region that gave us that G5 level solar storm way back when, the one that's been hammering Mars as well. And it looks like it might have a companion now, perhaps in region 3691. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But these regions look like they're surviving their far side passage, so expect to see them soon. In fact, as we take a look at the Styx light curves from Solar Orbiter, this is like a solar flare monitor. You can actually see we had an X3 class flare from that region, as well as a couple high M class flares. So it's definitely still big flare players and a lot of big flares going on and radio blackouts going on the sun's far side. And that's what's about to rotate back into Earth view. And again, how do we know that? Well, as we ask the Styx instrument to tell us where it's seeing this on the disk, you can see this as the Styx instrument looks at the sun from the far side. This region here is where it's seeing all those solar flares. And yep, that's exactly where we expect region 3697 to be right about now. So this region is going to still be giving us some trouble, it looks like, for the third rotation in a row, if you can believe that. Outside of that, as we return to our Earth-facing disk, well, we've actually been dodging a lot of bullets. First, we had this big filament erupt here. Whoosh, you can see it there. Then we had a filament up here in the northwest that erupts in another beautiful display. You can see it whoosh right there. Once again, not Earth-directed. Then we had yet another filament launched down here. You'll see it go whoosh right there, not Earth-directed. And then finally, region 3718, bam, right there, fires off a small M-class flare along with what looks to be an Earth-directed solar storm, but nope, that solar storm looks like it gets sucked back into the sun. It doesn't look like anything escaped, so we are just dodging bullets left and right. Meanwhile, we also have this filament here. This is looking a bit dicey. It is passing through the Earth strike zone now, and it looks like it could erupt. If it does, it could very well be an Earth-directed solar storm launch. So that's something we're paying very close attention to. Outside of that, we also have some fast wind from this coronal hole that's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone here over the next couple days. But, we're only expecting maybe active conditions from that. So right now, field day looks like it might actually be pretty good for everyone. But we do have to worry about these contenders rotating in from the sun's far side. In fact, as we take a look at the JSOC HMI helioseismology far-sighted viewer, you can see in gray all the players from the front side. You can see region 37, 12, 13, and 16, for example. But you can also see in the gold, which is the far side, you can see region 3697 definitely surviving its far side passage, and 3691 as well. And these regions look like they're getting very close to rotating back into Earth view. You can see there might even be a new region here that's extended 3697. So we'll see what this region looks like as it rotates back into Earth view over the next 3 days or so, which sadly is right about when we're having field day. So what's likely going to happen is as we move in through the weekend, we're going to start seeing noise rising up on the bands. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Hopefully we won't start seeing big solar flares, but it's going to be close. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. And now switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week. We are anticipating some fast solar wind from that coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone. At high latitudes, NOAA's giving us, we're expecting about active conditions starting around Saturday with up to about a 35% chance of a major storm. But again, this is at high latitudes. It shouldn't be too bad. It's not like any of the big storms, that launch towards us. And that fast solar wind is not expected to really wallop us too hard. So for field day, could be a little bit problematic, but more at the nighttime hours than the daytime hours. And now as we switch to our mid-latitude aurora, well, we're looking for the same conditions. We are going to be on a wind watch, and then we're expecting the fast wind hitting on Saturday. But we're really just going to be expecting unsettled conditions for the rest of this week. We've got about a 10% chance of minor storm conditions, and I've extended that out to Sunday. But again, as long as we don't get any big solar storm launches like that filament that's going through the Earth strike zone, it looks like field day might not be too bad, especially around mid-latitudes and especially during the daytime. Now, as we switch to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are sitting around 190s right now for solar flux. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good range. We're also going to be riding possibly up back into the 200s here over the next few days as those old regions begin to rotate into Earth view. Let's hope that doesn't completely happen until we get through field day. Meanwhile, we're expecting moderate noise on the bands. NOAA's giving us about a 55 to 60% chance of M-class flares. This is at the R1 to R2 level radio blackout. I'm expecting that to move at least up to about 65% as we move into the early part of next week. Plus, we're sitting at about a 5 to 10% chance of X-class flares over the next couple days, and I expect that's also going to rise here pretty quickly as these new regions rotate into Earth view. But for the most part, things should be about the same as they've been. Maybe a bit more noise on the bands than you've been dealing with over the last week, but not too bad for field day. Now, as we switch to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week, everything is in the green when it comes to radiation storms. We're sitting at the D1 normal range. That's at flight level 360 for you aviators. This is also the S0 quiet range for everyone else. NOAA's getting us about a 5 to possibly 10% chance of radiation storms over the next few days, and this is because we have region 37, 12, and 16 rotating to the sun's west limb. That always seems to up the chances. Plus, we do have those new regions, or rather those returning regions, rotating into Earth view here as we move into the early part of next week, and that could also very well rise the risk for radiation storms. So expect things to be reasonably calm, especially for you frequent flyers and you air crew. There shouldn't be a huge risk, but you'll always want to keep your eye on those ICAO advisories in case these conditions change. So the space weather is remaining quiet, at least for the moment. Now, we do have that coronal hole that's going to be rotating in through the Earth strike zone over the next couple days. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you could get a bit of a show. Aurora photographers at mid-latitudes, well, maybe right when the influence of that fast solar wind hits Earth, we could get a little bit of a bump up of aurora, but only if you're dedicated should you chase, because it's not going to last all that long. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, I know this weekend is field day, and right now it looks like conditions will pretty much stay as they have been over the last few days. However, the tell is going to be whether region 3697, as it rotates into Earth view here over the next maybe 3 days or so, whether that's going to impact field day. You're likely going to notice a little bit of noise on the bands rising, but hopefully you won't notice any big R3 level radio blackouts until after field day is over. At least that's what I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for. Now, you GPS users, well, you know, we don't have a lot going on the front side. We have those R1 to R2 level radio blackouts, but they're not too bad. So that's going to give you some issues near dawn and near dusk. And then we do have that fast solar wind that'll give us a little bit of aurora on Earth's night side over the next couple days. So as long as you steer clear of those regions, anywhere near aurora on the sun's far or Earth's night side, or anywhere near dawn and dusk, he should be pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.